What? Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2014 Thousand Oaks City Council Candidates Forum. My name is Leonard Greenlee, and it is my extreme honor this year to serve as the chairman of the board of directors for the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce, the host of tonight's event. I'd like to thank all of our audience participants for attending tonight's event, and a special thanks to all of our candidates for coming out tonight to share with us their visions for the city of Thousand Oaks, which, by the way, is celebrating its 50th anniversary this year. In fact, this Saturday is the City of Thousand Oaks 50th anniversary parade, the theme of which is remembering the past, honoring the memories. So we hope to see many of you lining the Thousand Oaks Boulevard this Saturday as we pay homage to the past. But tonight we take a look at the future through the eyes of our candidates for City Council. Before I introduce tonight's moderator, I want to take a moment to recognize those who have made tonight's event possible, our sponsors. It is through their support that the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce is able to provide the community important, timely events such as tonight's Candidates Forum. Tonight's sponsors are Roy's Towing, Tarsine Biomedical, Verizon, and Waste Management. I also want to thank Los Robles Greens for hosting our forum tonight, and to thank our media sponsor, KADY Television. Without further delay, I'd like to introduce the moderator for tonight's Candidates Forum. This gentleman would need no introduction for those that have been active in the Thousand Oaks community. We're very pleased to be joined tonight by Dr. Herbert Gooch, a graduate of UC Berkeley. Dr. Gooch holds an MBA in Management, MA in International Relations, and Doctorate in Political Science from UCLA. He has taught at Cal Lutheran since 1987, where he directed graduate studies and the Masters in Public Policy and Administration program, and is currently teaching political science. Dr. Gooch lives in Newbury Park with his wife Christine, and has 2 children. He has written and lectured extensively in the areas of national, state, and local politics. A longtime observer and participant in city and county affairs, we welcome his expertise and willingness to moderate tonight's forum of candidates for the Thousand Oaks City Council elections. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Herbert Gooch.
We are still one candidate short, Paige Gordon, so if she comes in, we'll just direct her and she'll join, and I won't draw any special attention to her. The candidates are seated roughly in alphabetical order. I asked them how they wanted any changes. They seem to be satisfied, so there's nothing secret or special about the order that they're in, except that I have a series of questions that were drawn up by the chamber and myself and a little other input, and I have those in an order. What I'll do is I'll ask the questions, just simply go down the line, and then come back and keep asking questions until we run out of time. The notion here is to have each of the candidates have a 2-minute initial explanation of why they're running, who they are, and then they'll also have a minute at the end to sort of sum up, is there anything they really would like you, the audience, as well as the TV audience, to know about them. I don't want to introduce each of them. The whole idea, let's give them a couple of minutes to introduce themselves. What I'd like to do, I'd also like very much to thank the chamber and the other sponsors for really a civic gift to this city and the surrounding area to put on something like this. You must realize how fortunate that we are that people really care. The time will be kept by chamber members, Gillette or others, they'll signal with a red, I think 10 seconds still. 10 seconds in the yellow and then red, and then I have the distinct pleasure of wrapping them around the neck, squeezing. No, so we'll move fairly fast. They'll have a minute as a response, right, to the question, and the idea is to try to really get a variety of responses, and therefore quite a few questions asked. That's why we just want 1 minute. So let me start in no particular order, but since Ray Sobrino is on my is immediate to me, start with you, and you have 10 minutes, your introductory remarks.
10 or 2?
2.
I can go on for 10. I'm on my business and my kids. But anyway.
2 minutes.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Raymond Sobrino. This is my second attempt at... Hello? Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Raymond Sobrino. I'm running for City Council. It's my second attempt. I'm a lifelong resident of the community. My parents moved here in '73, and I grew up here. I was educated through CUSD and Moorpark College, and of course, class of '95 at Cal Lutheran. I'm running for council because I believe I can help bring a new, energetic face into the community here. I've served on the Ad Hoc Social Services Committee. Last winter, I got some experience doing that. I enjoyed it. It was a great committee to work on. I've always had a desire to give back to the community to help raise me, and I feel that if I ran for office and sat on the council, I can give back to what I got here, which is a safe, happy, working class environment. I believe that I can help if I get on the council, mediate the traffic situation, especially in the community. Obviously, the town has grown since 1973, and we have a lot more cars, a lot more people, and so forth. I can help with the traffic situation. As someone that runs a service company, I'm on the roads all the time. I see how you should obey the traffic laws, you should follow what is required, and so forth like that. I can also help the council, being that I am bilingual. I can communicate with people that need to be, sometimes, they can't speak English. I do speak fluent Spanish. And the other thing, too, I feel I can get back to this town. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Price.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by thanking the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce for hosting the event, and along with the other sponsors, and giving the community a forum to hear from the candidates here for council. I've had the honor of serving on your council for the last 2.5 years, and in that time I've learned a great deal about how and why this city runs so efficiently and has been so successful. My wife Janine and I moved here to the Newberry Park section of Thousand Oaks about 24 years ago. We left the San Fernando Valley. At that time, we had a young family. We were looking for a safe place. 3 things: a safe place to raise our family, quality public schools where our kids could attend, and a lifestyle that would provide our children with parks to play in, libraries to visit, and a variety of other amenities that would encourage their development and happiness. We found all that here at Thousand Oaks. I have a background in public service, having been a member of the Los Angeles Police Department for 35 years now. My #1 priority is, and always has been, public safety. With recent changes in state law mandated by federal judges, we are seeing more pressure put on municipal law enforcement agencies with the reduction of prison populations. That is causing problems in our neighboring communities. It's only a matter of time before we're experiencing some similar problems here, and I have the experience and the knowledge in order to address those problems. Fiscal responsibility is also very, very important to me. I believe that we need to live within our means. As a member of your council, I have and will continue to insist on a balanced budget. I've been part of that process here in the last couple of years, and this requires leadership that recognizes the issues that impact our financial health and are willing to make the difficult decisions to address those issues. So all of that, I think, qualifies me for this seat, and I look forward to sharing a little bit more with you as we go on. Thank you. Rashid?
Thank you. I just think the chamber for putting this event on. These events are the hallmark for the democratic process. So it's important that the citizens are able to hear their candidates for office speak. Good evening, everyone. My name is Chase McGuire Rashid. I've lived here in Nelson for 15 years, but I've had ties here for longer. Okay, I've had ties here for longer since my aunt moved here in 1987 for a job with GTE, so I spent a lot of time here before I even moved here. And my background is in retail support and customer service. I worked for Cha-Cha Search Engine Inc. when it first started up, doing customer service as a search guy. I've also worked for JCPenney and Macy's at the Oaks doing retail support. That's getting the store together before anybody can come in and shop. So when you see the store meet, that's retail support that did that. And I'm currently working for Lawrence Merchandising, servicing Target in Newbury Park. And I think that my background as in retail would really help me be a good council member, because I've had to make tough decisions, deal with tough situations, and I've had to really operate sometimes without sometimes management expects you to take a leadership role, and I took on those roles when they asked me to. This is my first run for political office, but I'm very well versed in politics. My grandfather, Macon Booker, was a Amelia County supervisor in Virginia. He also served in the Army and Air Force. He's a very dynamic individual. There he is, just a very dynamic individual with a great influence on me. I think I can bring more realness to government, because there's a high level of pretense in government. You see it a lot, federal, state, local, and I'm going to cut that pretense, get to the realness. And as Judge Linda Hatchett says, say what you mean and mean what you say, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Claudia Vilda La Pena, and I'm running for re-election to be on the Thousand Oaks City Council and to represent all of you. That means young ones, it means seniors, it means parents, families, and everybody in between. I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce, first and foremost, for putting on this event, because we are only having 2 events or 2 debates for the City Council race this season. And this one is a very important one. And so I thank you very much for informing the public as to what's going on in local politics and who represents your government. Also would like to thank the sponsors of this event. I'm running for re-election because I have a lot of unfinished work that needs to be done. Mayor Andy Fox and I started the visioning process and the project, holding community meetings throughout town, and of course that was blessed by the entire City Council. And so we have 5 council members taking on different topics in the community to look at the next 50 years. I'm also running for re-election because, believe it or not, it's actually fun to be on the City Council. One of the biggest accomplishments, if not the biggest accomplishment, is the fact that we were able to make peace on the council. And I think that, to me, is really the biggest accomplishment, as I mentioned, along with others such as receiving and actually accomplishing pension reform at City Hall. We're also expanding the acreage of open space. We are the safest city in California with a population of over 100,000. And those things don't happen by accident, they happen by design. And of course, that design was formed and created 50 years ago with the founding fathers, one of whom is here tonight, one of the first mayors, Dick Hoots. And I really would like to carry the vision that they had forward into the future, and I hope to have your vote on November 4th.
Good evening, my name is Andy Fox. Just a little background for me. I've been a firefighter for the city of Los Angeles for 34 years and have served in the public safety capacity for basically my entire adult life. My education background, I got my bachelor in political science right here at Cal Lutheran University, and I also hold a master's degree from Pepperdine Law School. My civic involvement occurred long before I was in the city council, like many of you. Flipping pancakes and baseball games and track meets, coaching youth football. I've been involved in this community virtually the entire time that I've lived here, 32 years. I was first elected to city council in 1994, so I'm running for my 6th term. and I'm still as energetic and positive as the very first time I ran. Like Claudia, we have unfinished business to do. We've accomplished many good things over the last 4 years. My priorities remain public safety has always been our top priority, and for as long as I've been on the council, Thousand Oaks has been considered one of the safest cities in the nation, and usually the safest city in the state. Secondly, our fiscal stability. When other cities struggled, Thousand Oaks remained a AAA bond rating for our general fund, and we have done extremely well, and a lot of that came over the oversight of the city council. And finally, as Claudia mentioned, we did start a 2064 visioning process. This includes not just the council, but the community. And it's my vision that at the end of that process, council will then look at the recommendations from you, the citizens, and we'll chart a course for the next 50 years. I've always counted it an honor to serve in the city council, and I ask for your vote again on November 4th. Thanks very much.
Thank you. If the audience, this is a good audience, they're not trying to applaud or interject, so wait to the end for that so we have more time to go fairly rapidly through the questions. Also, as we go, if there are questions that you want to pose, there is staff, Adam Haverstock, grab his attention and he'll give you a little card and we can pass the cards up. So we appreciate that. So let me start with some questions. Again, I'll just simply randomly start, here with Mr. Sobrino. If elected, what will you do to encourage private enterprise to do business with the city?
What I would do to encourage private enterprise would be, if you're based in the city of Thousand Oaks, Newbury Park, or Conejo Valley, wherever you may call it, what you should do is, I would give them a city tax break as far as your license fees. If you're based in the community, that means you're going to work in the community, you're going to serve the community, and you're going to help the residents of the community. We have a lot of outside industry coming into the community saying, you know what, we'll take care of you and so forth. But I think the number one priority is always to take care of your own. Always be there to help within your own residents, your own people that spend money in the city, in the community, to help fluctuate the money that way. That's how I would help.
Thank you. For Mr. Price, what are the biggest challenges facing businesses in Thousand Oaks today, and what would you do to address those challenges?
One of the problems that we hear from some of the local businesses is that they have a hard time attracting employees. And the reason that is a problem for them is a housing issue. Thousand Oaks has less than 3% vacancy rate, and that suggests to me that there's room for additional housing. We are poised to do that with the Boulevard Specific Plan, and I think that's going to aid businesses. We already have one of the lowest business taxes anywhere around within the state, so that certainly encourages businesses to move here. And we don't really have a problem getting new businesses to Thousand Oaks. We've had a number of new businesses open here in Thousand Oaks in the last several years, and we see that continuing in the near future. So I think we need to concentrate on providing housing for them, continue to provide low business taxes and an environment that makes it easy for them to come in here and set up their business. Thank you.
Mr. Rashid, Measure E was approved by Thousand Oaks voters in 1996, capping the number of homes that can be built in the city. Now, almost 20 years later, we are approaching that housing cap. Is Measure E still a good idea for Thousand Oaks?
Measure E is still a good idea for Thousand Oaks because it's going to keep development under control. It's going to protect our open space, and it's going to keep the character of the city as it is, which is what attracts people to the city and what is what attracts business to the city. Now, the Boulevard Specific Plan, they want to build housing on the boulevard. And I think that's a good idea because it would protect a lot of vacant space. And as Measure E is going to sunset within the next decade or so, I think we need to start developing a master infill plan to deal with issues of infill before Measure E expires, before there is any sort of campaign to, like repeal it from outside developers.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Claudia Vilda Pena, people who move to the Conejo Valley have their choice of great cities to live in. Why should people who move here choose specifically Thousand Oaks rather than any of the other local cities?
Well, I have to say, Ventura County has several very nice cities, and most of them have a low crime rate. But of course, I am biased. I live in Thousand Oaks. I believe that Thousand Oaks is indeed, as our city manager loves to say, the premier city of Ventura County. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have our problems. But I believe that the amount of open space we have, over 15,000 acres, over 120 miles of trails, and the fact that we have an excellent school system and a low crime rate, we are again the safest city in California, over 100,000 population, are many reasons why people want to live here, why companies want to be here as well. Whenever you have these qualities, there really are natural attractions.
Mr. Fox, redevelopment agencies have long been a resource by which cities can improve blighted areas. They were eliminated by state law in 2010. How can Thousand Oaks attract developers to invest in Thousand Oaks without that resource?
That's a good point. Redevelopment was a key driver for many local governments, and when the state had its fiscal problems, they looked at local government to be part of the solution, and redevelopment was what they identified as local funds that would be transferred to the state. And that constituted a very large millions of dollars out of the city of Thousand Oaks. When we talk about attracting businesses to Thousand Oaks, I always tell folks that it's not the specific business perspective, but really the quality of life. And the fact of the matter is, business moves to Thousand Oaks for basically three reasons. First, we are the safest city in the country. And when business owners who generally have families are looking for a place to live, they want to live where their family is safe. Second, great schools. They want their kids to go to high quality education. And finally, buying a house is probably the biggest risk people take. Moving to Thousand Oaks is a time tested with a great community. There's no risk in moving to Thousand Oaks. So those are really the three reasons why people move here.
Excellent. Mr. Sobrino, Thousand Oaks is in the process of its Vision 2064, a 50-year strategic plan. What do you believe needs to be included in this plan?
What needs to be included is the redevelopment of the boulevard. As they spoke earlier about the affordable and working class family housing on the boulevard, what's happening is that we need to bring working class families back to the community. This way the city can continue to grow, continue to flourish, and be here another 50 years, and then 50 years from now, I'll be 93, we can be here to celebrate the 100th anniversary of Thousand Oaks. So this way, and then the other thing that I find is that you've got to bring also assisted living on the boulevard. Mr. Principe, I believe, spoke about that. He wanted to bring a 3-layer form. I think that's a good plan. Keep the families here, keep the residents here, and then this way we can go ahead and move forward from there.
Okay. Mr. Price, so Thousand Oaks Boulevard specific plan was recently approved by the City Council. Do you support the Thousand Oaks specific plan? Why? Why not?
I absolutely support the Thousand Oaks Boulevard specific plan. I was on the planning commission when we had a joint meeting with the council where we discussed a number of the issues that were brought before both those bodies. Again, I said it earlier and I'll say it again, what we need to do is we need to bring young people into our community. That is going to bring business into our community. That is what is going to allow us to continue to grow. It's no secret that we're an aging community here. The folks that we need to bring back into our city are the young families. We need to provide housing for them. Some of that housing will be on the boulevard. These young millennials want to live in that environment where they live, work, and play all in the same place. And this is an ideal concept for it. It has worked successfully in many other cities throughout this country. And I have no doubt that it will
work very well here.
Mr. Rashid, do you support mixed-use development in Thousand Oaks? Why or why not?
Yes, I do support mixed-use development because it's mainly going to happen on the boulevard. And the boulevard needs to diversify with business and housing. Because right now there's a lack of, it's not really cohesive on the boulevard, what is on there as far as business goes. And adding housing there will create foot traffic for small businesses. And small businesses rely heavily on foot traffic. If you go to any of the other cities in Ventura County that have downtowns, you'll see that those small businesses are doing very well. And when you walk past a boutique or a restaurant or cafe, you go into it because it caught your eye when you walk past it. And I think that's a good reason why mixed use is a great idea. Thank you.
Councilmember De La Pena, traffic in Thousand Oaks and its local freeways, 101 and 23, have become congested over the last 10 or so years. What can you do as a city council member to help alleviate this traffic?
Well, first of all, the traffic that we are seeing and the traffic jams that we're seeing in Thousand Oaks are primarily due to growing cities outside of Thousand Oaks. It is not in Thousand Oaks. And what we're seeing is traffic and employees coming from CD Valley, Moore Park, from the Valley, from Ventura, and that is unfortunate. However, I am a member of the Ventura County Transportation Commission, and we are lacking funds in order to ease the traffic congestion in our area. I'm a very big proponent of public transportation and mass transit, and I think that those will be the only solutions in the future to solve our traffic problems, because we cannot widen the freeways ad nauseum. We will eventually run out of land. We must look at public transportation in order to deal with this.
Mr. Fox, does Thousand Oaks invest enough in the development of public transportation? If not, what types of public transit need to be improved?
You know, there's a 1,000 Oaks budget. Our budget is for the general fund approximately $65 million in terms of what we spend. We spend a fair portion of transportation monies. Now, most of the monies that we get actually come through the state and federal government. It comes through your gas taxes and various taxes. I will say this, that Thousand Oaks, without question, in terms of its quality of street and street maintenance, is by far the leader in Ventura County and likely the state. There's likely many people in here who've actually experienced your own street being story sealed. The conditions of our streets are rated AAA. They are outstanding. So in terms of our infrastructure, we put a lot of time and effort into that. And so transportation is an important component. Realistically, California, and Thousand Oaks is in California, is a car state. And so we recognize that. We look for creative opportunities for public transportation. But right here in Thousand Oaks, as you look at the condition of our streets and our infrastructure, it's second to none.
Mr. Sobrino, the millennial generation is starting to graduate college and to enter the workforce. Is Thousand Oaks providing a good job market for millennials? Why or why not?
They are. Thousand Oaks in general, with the small businesses that are in the city itself, they have. I've talked to people say that I work for this small place, that place, and also for the superstores such as Home Depot, and of course everyone's looking forward to get applied and work at Amgen, of course. There is also a lot of negative about it too, because a lot of times people want to go in, make the big salary right out of college and so forth. I mean, I used to think that too when I was graduating college. But you got to understand too, a business is run on a budget, just as the city is run on a budget. If someone is expecting to graduate college and make 6 figures right out of college, it ain't going to happen. I'm telling you that for sure. But another thing too is that as long as you give the cities and the company, as long as you give the businesses an opportunity to work with their employees, then they can work themselves up, and then you can expand and you can have more employees within a certain type of business.
Thank you. Mr. Price, In May, the city of Thousand Oaks hosted the final leg of the Amgen Tour of the California Bike Race. The event brought tens of thousands of visitors to the community and had an even larger financial impact. In 2015, Thousand Oaks will be a host city for the Special Olympics in Los Angeles. Should the city continue to support events like the Amgen Tour and the Special Olympics? Why or why not?
Absolutely, and thank you for bringing up the Special Olympics. It was actually my idea that we become a host city here for Special Olympics. I had the unique fortune of being part of the Special Olympics World Games in 1996 when they were last held in the United States in Connecticut. It was a wonderful experience, and I'm very, very honored that Thousand Oaks stepped up and that the council elected to become a host city. I also think that having the Amgen Tour here, the final stage, is a no-brainer, quite frankly. With Amgen having their headquarters here, it is a no-brainer. It brings jobs, although some of them temporary. It brings TOT, transient occupancy tax, to our community. It is a tremendous financial boom for us to have events such as that in Thousand Oaks. The Chamber of Commerce is very active in the tourism improvement district, as are some of our neighboring cities, and have actually traveled to Washington, D.C. and lobbied on behalf of our tourism district. So, great question, and thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Rashid, Thousand Oaks is widely recognized as a premier city. If elected, how would you help your fellow council members and city staff to maintain that standard?
First off, I would make sure that there were no cuts to public safety. I would not vote for any cuts to public safety, because public safety is the main reason that people move to Thousand Oaks. They want safe streets, so they move here. And I would also be an ambassador for the city. I think a council member has to be an ambassador for the city. You really have to sell the city you really have to be a salesman when you're trying to attract business to the city and new residents to the city. Now, I worked in retail. I didn't do a whole lot of selling, but when I did, I was good at it. I could sell water to a bodybuilder, so I could help sell the city, and I would be very glad to work with these people to help sell the city as a great place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. Billy LaPena, if elected, what would you do to encourage private enterprise to do more business in this city?
Private enterprise of any industry in the city?
Yes.
Well, that is a very good question, and I think that process is already underway, and it is called the Huddle Campus, which is a collaboration between between California Lutheran University as well as a very young entrepreneur. They set up shop in Westlake Village, but CLU is here in Thousand Oaks, and it is an incubator for any new industries to attract them to Thousand Oaks and surrounding areas. So I'm very much in favor of that. I think the city as a whole is in favor of that. And when we get a new talent into Thousand Oaks to be willing to take a risk and open up shop here in Thousand Oaks, and I think that would be a good way to attract. We also have, as one of the sponsors here tonight, Tarson, which is a Chinese company, and they opened up shop in Thousand Oaks with, it's a medical business. And I think because Thousand Oaks is known for biotech, biomed, and medicine, I think that in itself is an attraction to any newcomers or startup companies.
Mr. Fox, what are the biggest challenges facing businesses in Thousand Oaks today, and what would you specifically do to address these challenges?
Actually, there's two key factors for businesses. For new businesses, one of the biggest challenges is land costs. Land cost is extremely high in Thousand Oaks, and the reality is that has it's a good reflection on how the city has managed itself. Property values are really high. If you're a homeowner or a business owner, you want that. And we have very high property values. So land costs are very high. So a business moving to Thousand Oaks is going to pay more for land in Thousand Oaks than they would other areas of the city. The other aspect is overregulation. Thousand Oaks does a very good job of maintaining very high standards, but very low business tax, very low regulation, if you will. Not a lot of unfunded mandates. So, and let me just comment a little bit about local government's role. Our role essentially is to maintain high standards and stay out of the way of business. We are a capitalist society. Business knows what's best for business, and I've always taken it as what the Thousand Oaks Council needs to do is not over-regulate, but assist with high-quality life issues.
Okay. So Sabrina, Measure E was passed almost 20 years ago. We're approaching the limit it's set on the number of homes that can be built in Thousand Oaks. Is Measure E still a good idea for Thousand Oaks?
Yes, it is. I believe Measure E is a really good idea. It's been passed, it's been done. We have plenty of residents, and we don't need to continue tearing down the mountain. We don't need to continue moving on. If you want to move to the city, obviously, to the community, and there's already fairly brand new homes already up. I mean, not brand new, but fairly new homes. So you should continue just trying to help within the community itself rather than building more, because as we need to have some open space. That's why what lured people to this area was the open space, was the mountains, was the hills, and so forth like that. So I think we should leave Measure E alone and continue to help grow internally in the city rather than trying to extend it out.
Okay. Mr. Price, people who move to Conejo Valley area have their choice of a number of cities to live in. Why should they live specifically in Thousand Oaks? What's so special about Thousand Oaks?
Number one, let me say it again, number one safest city in the state of California, number 4 in the nation. That's the number one reason. Again, being a law enforcement officer for 35 years in the city of Los Angeles, I've seen what that can do to a lot of things. It degrades your businesses, it decreases home values, it has all the opposite effects of what we see here. So that is certainly one of the leading factors. The other thing we have here is this tremendous ring of open space. That attracts people, 15,000 acres of open space, and we continue on an annual basis to add to that. We discuss purchases, and we have purchased a number of parcels within the last several years that have added to that open space. Nobody in Thousand Oaks, and certainly nobody on this council, wants to see any further development into those open spaces, and I, for one, would not allow that. Thank you.
Mr. Rashid, redevelopment agencies have long been a resource by which cities could improve blighted areas, but they were eliminated in 2010. So how can Thousand Oaks attract developers to invest in Thousand Oaks without that resource?
One thing that is going to fall upon the private sector, and the chamber here is a good resource for attracting developers to the city, because they are the business community and they have the ability to communicate with those developers and to actually make deals with those developers to come into the city. Now, the city has the jurisdiction to approve many developments to make sure they are right for our city, and the Planning Commission and the council votes on those developments. So we have to be flexible in what we allow in the city, but we also have to be, we don't have to compromise our principles or our general plan or Measure E. So I think that really falls upon the private sector now. Thank you.
Bill de la Pena, Thousand Oaks is in the process of setting its 50-year strategic plan, Vision 2064. What do you believe needs to be included in this plan, and is there anything missing?
I think we have it very well covered. We have 5 topics, 5 different council members handling 5 different topics: infrastructure, the environment, municipal services, civic engagement, and I'm forgetting now what the 5th one is. We're covering everything. We're covering everything from youth to senior services, nonprofits in between. And we are asking the public directly to give us feedback as to what they think, what you think needs to be done for the next 50 years. The biggest challenges that I see is providing improved and enhanced senior services to our aging population. As a former caregiver myself to my father-in-law for 2 years, I saw firsthand what is needed in order to provide enhanced senior services, and that is something that I definitely want to work on. But in general, our visioning project really includes everything.
Thank you. Mr. Fox, the Thousand Oaks Boulevard specific plan was, of course, recently approved. Do you support that specific plan? Why or why not? And do you see it as having flaws?
I do support the specific plan. We had several attempts, and I want to congratulate the Chamber of Commerce, the Business Improvement District that we have in Thousand Oaks, many of the business owners. The Thousand Oaks specific plan did not come from the city council. The Thousand Oaks specific plan came from the business owners and the residents that live and work here in Thousand Oaks. It's always been my view that the best ideas don't come necessarily from the council, they come from the folks. And this was a process, a very deliberative process. It went through a number of public outreach and public hearings, and ultimately it was approved by the city council. It's a roadmap for Thousand Oaks Boulevard, and it provides certainty for the property owners. It provides a roadmap and a plan for the city to follow, and it's been a good process. Incidentally, that fifth item that Claudia was talking about, oddly enough, is the business community. So there's a business sector that is being supported by Mr. Adams. So I'm very proud of the specific plan. Many years ago, I walked the boulevard, the council members elect knocking on doors of various businesses, and I look forward to that specific plan becoming a fruition.
Thank you. Mr. Sobrino, do you support mixed-use development in Thousand Oaks? Why or why not?
Yes, I do, and I think it's a really good idea to do that, because for one thing, there was a topic about mixed use being that you have homes and you have, or housing, and you have, of course, business. We need to bring more foot traffic to the boulevard. As we all know, well, I did when I was a young guy, go to the mall and hang out at the mall. The boulevard, you know, it should bring more foot traffic. We should make it more pedestrian friendly. We should have more boutique shops, so forth and on like that. And then, of course, if you've got housing for elderly live on the boulevard itself, they can come out to the boulevard, they can go to the local boutique store, they can go to wherever it is. I think it's a great idea. It should be redeveloped and rethought on 4th Avenue.
Mr. Price, it's no secret that traffic has become increasingly congested over the last decade. What can you do as a city council member to alleviate traffic congestion?
Well, I'm pretty good at directing traffic. Actually, the city has been very active in trying to secure funding for a number of projects here, and has actually been very successful. We have, as a city, redone the Wendy Bridge overpass here just recently to add capacity. We are, as all of you know, are keenly aware, there's a project that started at 10123 interchange just a few short months ago. And that project was made possible. It was going to happen, but it wasn't going to happen now unless the city of Thousand Oaks stepped forward and offered up a loan of about, I think it ended up being about $11 million that Thousand Oaks put in there. And that's only because we're in such a good financial position that we were able to do that. Now that money will be coming back to the city of Thousand Oaks. So we are constantly looking at traffic projects, traffic mitigation projects, and the city of Thousand Oaks does a wonderful job of doing that. And this is short-term pain for long-term gain, folks. Thank you.
Mr. Rashid, does Thousand Oaks invest enough in public transportation? If not, what types of public transit need to be improved?
Well, the city, last year, they signed on to a memorandum with Camarillo, Senior Valley, and Moore Park to discuss the creation of an East County Transit Authority, similar to Gold Coast Transit in West County. And I think it would be a good idea to consolidate the transit services out here, because number one, streamlining anything reduces costs, and number two, it would provide better connections throughout all of the cities, because right now here in Thousand Oaks, it takes you like 2 hours to get from to the mall over to the other side of town on the Arborlees, and I think that's unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. I think those times need to be reduced significantly. And consolidating those transit services with the other cities would definitely help with that and streamline services so costs would be less. Thank you.
Thank you. Mrs. Bill de la Pena, in a recent visioning sessions about the economy, the city manager mentioned that we needed more revenue going forward due to slowing economic growth. What criteria would you use to generate more revenue, such as utility tax, sales tax, etc.?
Well, I am fiscally conservative, and so I would not be in favor of a sales tax increase for the city of Thousand Oaks, but I may be in the minority. I think that there are other ways to increase revenues. First and foremost, we do need to make sure that we have tightened our belts at City Hall enough before we ask anyone to pay higher taxes. Once we have done that, I think we can look at other options. But the revenue right now, revenue is actually up. Sales at the Auto Mall are up 15% this last quarter over last year. So revenues were stagnant for a couple of years, but they are increasing slightly. We have to simply be more careful with the way we spend your tax dollars, and as long as we live within our means, I think we will all be okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Fox, the millennial generation is starting to graduate college, enter the workforce, and the question becomes, is Thousand Oaks providing a good job market for millennials? Why or why not? What can we do?
We're doing, I think, a very good job. Let me just share with you that Thousand Oaks, for a city a size of about 120,000 people, has a very robust internship program. I was just at the gym the other day. I was approached by somebody about internship potential and possibilities here in the city of Thousand Oaks. You have that both in the private and the private sector and the public sector. In fact, the Chamber of Commerce offers internships to young college students. The city of Thousand Oaks does. The Park District does. Los Robles Hospital does, as well as many, many other private businesses. So people that are coming out of college or in college looking to get some experience and see where their passion is have many opportunities here at Thousand Oaks. We also have a variety of private sector businesses, from very large corporations like Amgen, Blue Cross, to small businesses that employ maybe 10 or 15 people. So young people have a great opportunity to kind of wade into whatever business they think they might want, both through the internship program and through entry-level jobs.
Mr. Sabrino, given that the city has supported the Amgen bike race, and next year we will be a host city for Special Olympics, do you think this is a good idea? Is this something that the city should continue to do?
It should, because it brings outside funds into the city. You got people from little neighboring communities coming in, and they'll see the bike race. They'll go ahead and say, you know what, there's the local place, let's go buy a donut, let's go buy lunch, and let's go do something here locally. The same thing with the Special Olympics, that brings crowds of people into the community, and it helps the local businesses again. Everything that they can help the local resident build on their economy, personal economy, business economy, whatever it may be, will help generate money within the city, and then it can help cover any other expenses they may have. Again, returning things back to the city.
Mr. Price, is there ever an occasion where private property rights should be set aside for the public good? Can you give an example?
First of all, that wasn't a coffee joke, was it, Mr. Sabrino?
No.
Donut in there?
Oh, no, I love donuts, man.
Just want to get that straight. Private property rights
Should they be set aside for the public good? Is there ever such a case, and can you give an example?
Well, I think that private property rights, and we've seen that here in Thousand Oaks, with private property rights. The city has actually been sued over private property rights when we've tried to assert our authority. So are there occasions when we should do everything within our power to make sure that the best decisions are made? Yes, I believe that that's true. But at the end of the day, we need to balance whether or not the city's potential loss of money in a lawsuit outweighs the other end. So A difficult decision, and private property owners do have rights, and we have thus far been able to work through most of those issues successfully without ending up in court. So that's a tough issue. Very good question.
Mr. Rashid, if elected, what would you do to encourage private enterprise to do business with the city?
Well, again, I think that's another responsibility that falls upon the chamber. That's one responsibility they have. They are also a partner in really marketing the city as a good place to move to. And again, as the city, as far as the city goes, I think the council members really have to serve as ambassadors for the city, talk the city up, make sure that it's being marketed properly. You've got to be an advocate for the city, a very strong advocate for the city. And the thing that we do, how we do that is we make sure that we are looking at this, the community attitude survey, and communicating with private business so they can go make their decisions based on this, what the residents want. And when the residents get what they want, the city flourishes. So again, a lot of that falls on the private sector, and the city plays some role, but it's limited. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Pena, what are the biggest challenges facing businesses in Thousand Oaks today, and what would you do to address those challenges?
The main complaint that I've received perhaps is the red tape trying to find perhaps a parcel, to find land, to find office space. I have not heard a lot of complaints other than those from businesses. I do want to say that we have an excellent economic development director who is a former planner. And I recently received a call from an investor who wants to open up a business enterprise here in Thousand Oaks. And I was so happy to be referring him to Haider Al-Awami, who knows exactly where land is available, what can be built there, what cannot be built there. He knows the ins and outs, because opening a business and land use go hand in hand. And we have to have staff in place who knows how to guide any potential business interests and how to steer them in the right direction. So whatever problem there is, if there is a problem, we definitely have someone, the staff, to address those problems.
Mr. Fox, is Measure E, which limits the number of homes in Thousand Oaks, is that still a good idea 20 years later?
Could you explain what Measure E is again? Actually, Dr. Kutch knows, back in 1995, after I was very first elected, growth control was the single biggest issue facing our city. And I think one of the things you can measure an incumbent by is their record. Today, 20 years later, we're not talking about overdevelopment. We're not talking about growth control. And the reason is because of Measure E. I wrote Measure E. I authored it. I brought it to the council, and it was brought to the city. And voters overwhelmingly approved Measure E by 70%. And today, we have not had a single general plan amendment for increased density of residential or commercial properties in the last 20 years. It's worked extremely well. It also provides for voters that if they want to amend Measure E, they can do that. But they have to do it to the ballot box. Measure E took the keys to overdevelopment away from the politicians and put it in the hands of the people.
Good. Mr. Sperino, the city manager, as a economist, always looks at things gloomily and has warned us that going forward, revenues will slow and costs will continue to increase. What criteria would you use to generate more revenue, such as utility tax, sales tax, or whatever you can think of?
Well, one thing, I don't want to raise taxes. We live in Southern California already. You've got enough taxes to pay. You live in California in general. Why would you want to live and pay more things? You would have to go ahead. You would have to restructure the budget. Whether if it's just simple things, but you should not raise taxes on your residents, especially if they've been here a long time like we have, and so forth like that. You have to pick and cut and go at the right places. And from what I understand, if it can be cut, like for the TO Transit or the Dial Ride or something like that, maybe you can restructure the money differently that way. But you should not raise taxes on the residents as it is. We pay a lot of money in taxes, whether it's property or whatever it is, so I would not do that. That's one thing I would not do.
Mr. Price, does Thousand Oaks invest enough in the development of public transportation? And if not, what types of public transit need to be improved?
Yes, actually, Thousand Oaks does spend a significant amount of money on transportation issues. We have the Transportation Center that was developed here just a short distance from here, not too many years ago. That is a regional hub for transportation. We have buses that come in from Santa Barbara County, from LA County. We also, and many people don't know this, our transit system is so open that we run the transit systems for other cities as well. We run and manage the buses for the city of Moorpark and the city of Westlake Village. We spend money wisely. What our ridership tells us, ridership numbers tells us, is that we are right where we need to be. We are at the sweet spot. That is not to say that going forward, particularly with the realization of the Thousand Oaks Boulevard specific plan, that we might need to add some additional bus routes. So I think going forward, we may have to revisit that, but right now, we're right where we need to be.
Thank you. Mr. Rashid, what can be done to help develop or meet the needs of the senior population? Are we doing enough? What more could be done?
Okay, well, first off, I think maintaining the dial ride system is critical to senior concerns. My grandmother uses dial ride to get to her doctor's appointment, so it's very critical. Sometimes dial ride and wait times can be a little more than the dispatcher says, and I think that needs to be looked at because I've talked to several seniors, my grandmother included, who have been left waiting a very long time. One time, the dial ride didn't even show up, and someone that had previously met my grandmother at a doctor's appointment gave her and my aunt a ride home because the dial ride just never showed. So, but as far as senior concerns go, the services, private services, social services are very pressed for resources here in the city, and I think we need to be advocates for getting more state and federal funding for senior services in the city, because the state really does have a lot of senior services. Thank you.
This is Bill de la Peña. Do you believe that there is a problem in Thousand Oaks meeting the need for low-income residents for housing and other needs? If you believe we're not doing enough, what more could we be doing?
Well, with the disappearance of the redevelopment money that we relied upon so heavily, it's going to be, and it will be, increasingly challenging to provide affordable housing for our seniors, which is why I am an advocate of maintaining our mobile home parks, because they are the only low-income housing available to seniors on a fixed income. And in order to maintain that, we do have our rent control ordinance. We must make sure that we keep that rent control ordinance. And also, we have to make sure that any new development that will be built in Thousand Oaks, that we go back to charging an in lieu fee into our housing trust fund. We have actually put that fee on hold for several years, and as a result, our trust fund has not been growing as much as it could have, because we will rely on that housing trust fund to provide affordable units to low-income families and seniors on a fixed income.
Thank you. Mr. Fox, do you support mixed-use development in Thousand Oaks? Why or why not?
I do, but I think it has to be measured. Thousand Oaks Boulevard, when we had our original general plan, did not envision mixed use. But things change, and this community has changed as well. My concern with mixed use, as much as I think it would create a pedestrian-friendly boulevard atmosphere, which virtually every attitude survey for the past 10 years, we hear nothing from residents other than, we want a pedestrian-friendly boulevard. And to do that, we need mixed use. We also need to be cautious that that mixed use is able to keep pace with our infrastructure. I will tell you that I don't believe we need to become a state street like Santa Barbara and other those communities, because our families drive from point A to point B on Thousand Oaks Boulevard. So I think mixed use is a good thing, but it needs to be measured.
Thank you. A number of questions have come from the audience, which I very much